Trump administration is only 2 days old. We got 7 new lawsuits already filed against them. Do the math. There's going to be several thousand lawsuits filed against Donald Trump and his executive orders. He's ruling by executive order, and that is a good thing because we can go after him in lawsuits when he exceeds his authority, he violates the separation of powers, he does unconstitutional things in the courthouses, and I'm there to follow it on a new show called Popok Live, Tuesday nights on the Midas Touch Network. And here's a clip of my discussion about those 7 lawsuits. Let's dive in. We got a counter, right? We got a counter going here. 6 lawsuits. Let's start with birthright citizenship. The Constitution guarantees, after our Civil War, that all people born here on U.S. soil, regardless of their parentage, regardless of their parents, are automatically U.S. citizens. We call it jus soil, right? It's Latin, French for you're born here, you're American citizen. That's been enshrined in the Constitution since the 1860s. We had a Supreme Court case 30 years later in 1898, and it's never wavered, in which the Supreme Court said if you're born here, regardless of if your parents are subject to the jurisdiction of and the laws of another country, like China in the case of the Supreme Court case, you are a U.S. citizen. Now, MAGA likes to call them anchor babies. They're not anchor babies. They're fellow U.S. citizens. And one of them may be the next United States president. Hell, there's people in Donald Trump's potential cabinet that are technically anchor babies who were born here by parents who were, marginally documented. And so the 14th Amendment, Section 1, the only piece of stray language in there that MAGA relies on is that it says if you're the subject to the laws or the jurisdiction of another country or foreign country. That's been interpreted to mean if you're the child of a foreign diplomat. Like if you're the child of the ambassador to France who happens to be living in New York and you're born here, you're not a U.S. citizen because they're on diplomatic soil, so to speak. Other than that, doesn't matter who your parents are. Donald Trump signs an executive order to have all government offices, all government agencies declare that they will not recognize the U.S. citizenship for benefits, for status, for anything else if the baby's mother is either undocumented or here temporarily, but not illegally. So she's either illegal, undocumented, or here only temporarily in some sort of asylum status. And the father's not a U.S. citizen, naturalized or otherwise. That is not how the 14th Amendment, Section 1 works or how it's been interpreted. That is a gift that we give to anyone who was born here. You are automatically a U.S. citizen and don't have to fear to be deported or sent back to some other country because this is your country. And to answer the question, can Donald Trump, by executive order, alter a constitutional amendment? And we answer that question. The answer is no. Just picture it like rock, paper, scissors. Right? Rock is the constitutional amendment, 14th Amendment. Scissor is the executive branch, and you know from the playground what happens there. The only way to amend or change that law, the only way is if there is an amendment to the Constitution, 2/3 vote of the states, 2/3 approval by the House and the Senate. And we know in this divided country of ours, we're not getting 2/3 of people to agree on anything. Or you get a Supreme Court to interpret it your way if you're MAGA. Now, the Supreme Court already doesn't like when executive orders, which seems to be how Donald Trump is going to run his administration, because he doesn't believe that MAGA Congress can get any laws passed, which he's right about. So as I said before, after the election, he's going to try to govern by executive order, which is great for us, fair-minded, fair-thinking Democrats, because that's going to lead to him abuse of power, doing things that he's not authorized to do, doing things inconsistent with congressional law, doing things inconsistent with constitutional law, lawsuit, 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 lawsuit. As I said at the top of Popok Live today, 6 lawsuits already filed. Multiply the number of, we had 1,000 lawsuits or so that were filed in the first Trump administration. It'll be 3,000 now, guaranteed. So, the Supreme Court has a doctrine we call the major questions doctrine. They don't like executive orders on really big issues that should be resolved by the Constitution or by Congress. And they're not going to support, under the major questions doctrine, having Donald Trump with a flick of his pen and some word processor to change birthright citizenship under his 14th Amendment. That's not happening. This is dead on arrival. I'm going to talk about the couple of lawsuits here. This is dead on arrival. This was to pander to MAGA and then have the courts reject it and then have Donald Trump complain about it. That's what we're watching. And so whether it's under major questions or other, I don't see the United States Supreme Court supporting Donald Trump on this issue. I just don't. Now, look, I know. Where have I heard of a Supreme Court misinterpreting the 14th Amendment to benefit Donald Trump? Oh, right. The Colorado insurrectionist ballot case and 14th Amendment Section 3. Could they go that route again? But that was to benefit Donald Trump and get him reelected. But there's no other way around that analysis. And that was that. And a lot, that was like a 9-0 vote. Here, this is a completely different case. This is John Roberts, the Chief Justice, having to be part of his legacy, not only ripping away a constitutional right for a woman to choose under Roe versus Wade, but he's going to deny birthright citizenship in the 14th Amendment and overturn an over 124-year precedent? I don't think so. And I don't think Amy Coney Barrett, the mother of, I think she's got 8 children, I don't think she's going to go along with this either. And the reason I mention her is not because I love Amy Coney Barrett. I mostly don't. But she is the swing vote. It's becoming the Amy Coney Barrett court. Because she's the swing vote, voting with the majority more than the others. We can't count on Gorsuch. He's gone. He's gone. He's with Alito and Thomas on almost everything. Kavanaugh's a free radical. You don't know where he's going to go. Roberts is worried about his legacy because, he wrote the immunity decision. He wrote the Colorado ballot initiative decision. He didn't take Alito off the writing of the opinion for the Dobbs decision on Roe versus Wade. It's his court. I see easily Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett siding with the Democratic majority of the Democratic wing of the Supreme Court and shooting this all down. Now, the lawsuits have been filed. There's 2 separate ones. In New Hampshire federal court. Now, remember, before I get to the courts, the venues are important here. The courts are important here. The appellate courts are important here. Just as the Republicans and MAGA want to do their Texas two-step all the time. File in Texas, take it to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, then take it to the United States Supreme Court. We, as fair-minded Democrats and progressives, we got to do our own version. That would mean the First Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers New Hampshire and Massachusetts. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers New York and Connecticut. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers New Jersey and the like. Right? And the DC Court of Appeals. That's where we have to live. California and the Ninth Circuit used to be very reliable. It's getting a little bit less reliable, but I would throw that still in there too in California. Right? Stay away from the Midwest, stay away from the South, stay away from the Fifth Circuit, right? And that's where these lawsuits need to go, and that's where they're going. First case filed against birthright citizenship executive order hours after it was signed is in New Hampshire. It's brought fundamentally by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU. I said earlier in November, watch the ACLU. Watch new organizations made, including ones by Norm Eisen, who's a friend of the pod and a friend of the channel, to defend democracy. He's formed some groups there. The NAACP, so the NAACP, the ACLU, a group by Norm Eisen, and then some other groups like LULAC, the Latin Urban Cities Organization, and an Indonesian community support group. Because the Indonesians came to New Hampshire, right, in 2023, and they're having babies. I mean, I don't believe in sterilizing people who just arrived here, right? And so they're having babies. The question is, why aren't those babies Americans? Why are they second-class citizens? Donald Trump says, well, they're here on a temporary asylum visa, so we're not going to recognize their children. Where does it say that in the Constitution? So that group mobilized behind the Indonesian community, but they're seeking, just as the other lawsuit I'll tell you about, they're seeking a full block, nationwide block of this order. Now, Trump put a 30-day timer in it. His law doesn't go into effect for about 30 days. So we got some time for this litigation. He anticipated it. So that's the New Hampshire case. Under the 14th Amendment violation, under some other laws, asking the court to block it and declare it's unconstitutional. Now, 22 other states have gotten together and split their suits into two separate suits. So really, there's really 7 suits that have now been filed against Donald Trump. The 22 or so states have joined together. 18 states and 2 cities, San Francisco and DC, are in one case. In Massachusetts, again, same, the First Circuit Court of Appeals, same as New Hampshire. So we've got 2 cases sitting in the First Circuit. 18 states there, including Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Michigan, Maine, Minnesota, Vermont, Maryland. They're all joined together there. And then in another case in the Western District of Washington State, federal, all federal, just to be clear. These are not state issues. Constitution, subject matter jurisdiction, federal court. In Washington, which reports to the Ninth Circuit, we've got Arizona, Washington, Illinois, and Oregon filing there. Same case, but they're flooding the zone. This is the portfolio method of filing. I've handled class action cases where we filed in 9 different jurisdictions at the same time. I get it. Ninth Circuit here. 2 cases at the First Circuit, the 2 that I've talked about, the ACLU case, I'll call it, and the other one involving the other 22 states. Massachusetts, 1 in Washington, Ninth Circuit, First Circuit. This is going to go quick. We're going to go really quick on this. Briefing, emergency, temporary injunctions probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Emergency appeals to the 1st and the 9th. Maybe we get the same ruling. Maybe we get a split decision and an emergency application to the United States Supreme Court. In the 1st and the 9th, they are the first justice on the top of each of those circuits from the United States Supreme Court is the Democratic wing of the court. You see where this is going? It's the Sotomayors, the Ketanji Brown Jacksons, the Kagans, and the like, right? They cover 1st and 9th. Yeah. And then United States Supreme Court. And then when you get there, let's say in the next 2 months, you got to aim for Amy Coney Barrett, the mother of 8 children. Yeah. Constitutional scholar, allegedly from Notre Dame University. And get her along with Roberts to side with Ketanji Brown Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor and kill it. And kill it now. And then we have to use the fact that he signed this executive order as a community against him, MAGA, those that support him in the midterm elections. We have to see these executive orders as gifts. Yes, there's human trauma that goes along with it, but they're gifts because we could use them politically and legally against Donald Trump and tie his administration up at knots and make him the lamest of lame duck presidents before the midterm elections. Right? Those are the 2, really 3 birthright citizenship cases. Welcome back, Popok Live. I take questions. I give answers. I take no prisoners. I pull no punches. Every Tuesday night, 8 p.m., new podcast. Popok Live only on the Midas Touch Network. Glad you're here on Legal AF. Take a moment. Hit the free subscribe button as we march towards 500,000 subscribers in less than 6 months. That's all because of you, and we are humbled by it. So till my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.